Hello, friends, and welcome to a very quick update. I want to talk a little bit about the volatility that we've been seeing in crypto, specifically Bitcoin, the last few days. Now, for those of you that are an old hand on this, are probably going to say, Tico, we're barely down. Why are you putting together a video? But we have a lot of new people that got involved, and they're probably thinking, oh my goodness, what's happening? Why all of a sudden are we seeing all this weakness taking place in the cryptocurrency market? So the first thing I want to tell you is take a breath. Welcome to crypto. This is a world where volatility is just an everyday occurrence, and sometimes we will know the reason why we're seeing volatility. Other times we won't know the reason at all. We'll just see massive volatility, and then all of a sudden the whole market starts rallying again. So, but we do know why we're seeing a bit of a sell-off right now. Bitcoin's trading around 7,500, 7,600, and we're down because there is a tax crackdown in South Korea. You might be wondering, why does South Korea matter? South Korea is a massive Bitcoin trading hub, and what they've been trying to do in South Korea is be very proactive about creating a regulatory framework that doesn't stifle innovation and has the ecosystem growing. And sometimes they've been a bit too tough, sometimes they've been a bit too weak, and they're trying to find this middle ground. So right now, this idea is being floated that the way that cryptocurrency is taxed is going to be changed. That has some people fearful. And when people are fearful, they say, oh, I don't know what the tax situation is going to look like. I'm going to sell some Bitcoin. So, and then you have traders around the world say, hey, look, there's going to be a ton of Bitcoin coming to market out of South Korea because they're getting spooked. Let's walk back our bids. So walking back your bid means, if you're a market maker or a big participant, is that you start lowering the amount of Bitcoin that you buy at certain levels, right? They call it walking back the bid. And so when everybody walks back their bid when they know there's a big seller coming into the market. And everybody knows that in South Korea, you're going to have some people that want to either avoid paying taxes or don't like this new law that are going to sell some Bitcoin. And so they're walking back their bids. I saw the same thing happen all the time in the stock market. Either if some news came out or if we got the word that there was a big institutional seller, it was almost like magic. Everybody on the trading desk would know, and they take a little bit of stock and they bring the bid down, take a little bit of stock and bring the bid down. And they would do that until they cleaned out the seller. And then once they had cleaned out the seller, you saw prices move higher. So that's the reason why we're seeing some weakness right now. Please do not sweat it. This is the reason why we use position sizing. This is the reason why I always remind you that this is very volatile, right? So it's a reason why we don't put enormous amounts of money into one idea, because that volatility most people just can't handle. Now, I'm going to tell you now why none of that volatility matters. Just like in any market, whether it's stocks, bonds, or commodities, traders have this kind of minute-by-minute viewpoint of the market, and they don't pull back and look at the bigger picture as to what is going to shape the larger trend. For me, the way that I've approached making money for my readers in cryptocurrency is paying attention to both, but really paying attention to the longer term effects of certain shifts in policy. So for instance, last year in July, when the Bitcoin was down 40%, and I saw that the CFTC was going to launch futures, I said, okay, you launch futures, you bring liquidity, you legitimize the asset, all of a sudden you bring in a whole nother leg of money. Most people in this space can't understand that because they don't come from a traditional finance world. This is a major opportunity. And it was. Bitcoin was trading at 1850. And it still languished there for a little bit before finally taking off and going to 20K on the back of the CFTC. So, I've talked to you about the ETF, which we believe is coming before the end of this year. But there's another event that just got announced that I think is as big as the ETF. And again, no one's talking about it. And friends, this event, this is huge. Mark down your calendars, August 1st. I'm recording this August 1st, Wednesday, 10:35 a.m. This is huge news. When this news starts to permeate through the market, it's going to have an incredibly bullish impact on the market. So let me explain to you what's going on. There's a company called Northern Trust. Now, most people have never heard of Northern Trust, but Northern Trust is a massive U.S. financial institution. They custody or control over $10 trillion worth of assets. And the people that use them are other institutions and ultra-high net worth individuals. Northern Trust is the whitest of white shoe firms, right? They take no risk. Wealthy families trust Northern Trust to manage their capital over generations, right? Northern Trust is over 100 years old. It is an incredibly credible firm. Have you ever heard of Northern Trust ever getting in trouble? Have you ever heard of Northern Trust needing a bailout? Have you ever heard of Northern Trust ever having a hint of scandal? No. Okay, it is the whitest of white shoe firms. Now, why am I talking to you about Northern Trust? I'm talking to you about Northern Trust because it just came out that Northern Trust has been working with 3 traditional hedge funds, helping them add cryptocurrency to their portfolio. Now, why is this important? To work with Northern Trust, you can't be some little mom and pop fund, right? A little mom and pop fund, anything under $1 billion is a little mom and pop fund as far as Northern Trust is concerned. So you must be a major firm. Now, they haven't told us who those major firms are, but if they're working with Northern Trust, they must be massive firms. So you've got 3 major firms working with Northern Trust. The fact that Northern Trust is willing to work with companies that are buying Bitcoin and companies that are buying cryptocurrency, I can't tell you what a shift that is. When I started recommending cryptocurrencies in 2016, I was accused of promoting money laundering. I was accused of promoting a way for people to break the law. Everywhere I went, I can't believe you're talking about Bitcoin. Only money launderers use Bitcoin. So you can see that the narrative has shifted so much from 2016 now to 2018 that Northern Trust is now in this space and working with these cryptocurrencies. So what does that mean? What it means is that I think at some point, Northern Trust is going to provide full custody services for Bitcoin and for cryptocurrencies. And custody is critically important for institutions. See, institutional money, they can't own the securities that they buy. They can't hold them. Due to the Investment Act of 1940, they have to be held by a custodian. But guess what? There are no blue chip, white shoe Bitcoin and cryptocurrency custodians yet. Nomura Securities is launching something. They're a $100 billion outfit out of Japan. There are rumors that Goldman Sachs might do something. But there's a natural fit for a company like Northern Trust, which already works with most of the major global hedge funds, to provide custody. And that's what I think is going to happen. Look, can I guarantee that? Absolutely not. But you got to read the tea leaves, right? You got to read the writing on the wall. The fact that Northern Trust would be willing to work with 3 major hedge funds and help them, what they're doing right now is verifying that the custodians they're using have the actual Bitcoin, I think is the first step for Northern Trust to enter into the custody business. And friends, that is huge. That's like building a massive 12-lane superhighway linking the world's institutional capital with the cryptocurrency market, right? It is unbelievably bullish, and the market could care less because the market is dumb sometimes. The market is just not, sometimes the market is dumb. 2 months ago, I got in front of this camera and I said, the CBOE just announced that they're going to provide insurance, and this is hugely bullish. At the time, Bitcoin was trading at 6,200. We dropped to 5,800 before the market woke up to how big this news was, and then bid us up over 8K. So again, I don't expect the market to wake up to this Northern Trust news right away, but when it does, you are going to see the value of the entire market move up dramatically. One last piece I want to add to that is that PwC, one of the big four accounting firms, is finally coming into this space and agreeing to audit cryptocurrency organizations. Specifically, Tezos is one. But now that PwC has kind of crossed the Rubicon with working with these companies, everyone's now going to work with them. Friends, I am telling you that we are at the very beginning of a large-scale adoption of this asset class by traditional financial institutions. And when they come into this en masse, along with a Bitcoin ETF, my good Lord, the amount of money that is about to be poured into this market is mind-boggling, okay? So I want you to stay really focused on the big picture. Don't get too crazy over little ups and downs. If you're getting that crazy on these little ups and downs, either you invested too much or you just need to take a step back, take a deep breath, and go play with your children or your grandchildren or spend some time with your spouse, okay? Because the market's going to do whatever it wants to do on a day-to-day basis. None of us have any control over that, and that's not our job. Our job is to stay focused on the big picture and be positioned for the next massive move higher, which is coming. All right, friends, that is enough out of me. I normally don't chatter along this much or for this long, but really wanted to give you a deep view into what is shaping this market and what is coming here over the short to intermediate term. Okay, friends, again, that's enough out of me. I want to thank you for tuning in, and I want you to always remember, let the game come to you.